Hi everyone, it's Jess, and today I'll be drawing and painting some autumnal witchy doodles. They're to accompany the calendars I'm currently creating. I'm thinking I might turn them into stickers maybe. They could be, different sizes of downloadable digital ones that people can print at home and stick into their journals and calendar pages and things. I love creating these types of doodles. It's so much fun with all the different elements. For these ones I started with my favourite paper, Saunders Waterford, and some of my favourite paints. These are Kuretake Japanese poster paints, which are very much like gouache to me, really lovely pigments and everything. And my black wing pencil and some kind of eraser, I don't know what that is. I'm starting up here with a potion bottle. I've done a few sketches in other little bits of paper here and there, and I really started to like some of the shapes I was coming up with. So I've kind of tried to combine those shapes and ideas here. And here I'm just making sure I'm getting each side even. Sometimes it takes a bit of correcting and erasing one side and replacing it and then the other one. But you get there eventually. I love these old bottles. They really look kind of Victorian or older, like from an old apothecary's shop. It reminds me of the old Victorian stories like Jekyll and Hyde and Sherlock Holmes and Edgar Allan Poe as well. And they always have to have a proper old wonky cork in the top as well. I imagine someone's actually cut it from a tree and stamped it out by hand and shaped it perfectly for that one bottle. Here I'm working out, I've sped this bit up a little bit, and I'm working out what other shapes could go in this area. So I've got to try and balance out the whole page. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm thinking it's stickers and they can be moved around, but I still get the feeling I want to make this piece of paper aesthetically pleasing as well. I've sped this bit up even more here because the camera slipped kind of downwards, I realised. So it's kind of, the area I'm drawing is right at the top of the picture and it should really be in the middle, but never mind, so we'll go through it like this anyway. But I got the basic outside shape that I wanted the leaves to be, like the outside of the whole frond, and then I put the actual leaves inside there, so it looked quite sort of uniform, and I think that looks quite cute there. And under the potion bottle I decided to place a witchy broom, because no self-respecting magical being can do without a broom, I don't reckon. So again, for the bristles of the broom, I've just kind of done a basic outline for where they will lie, and then I fill that in later on with the actual bristles themselves. And then just erase that little line at the bottom, but that won't be so noticeable once the paint goes on anyway. Again, don't worry if you feel you're not drawing as quickly as I am in these. I have sped up a few of these little videos a little bit. So here I thought the broom on its own didn't quite look right, it needed something added to it, so I'm adding a little vine behind it. And at the moment I'm imagining the leaves on the vine will be kind of a muted greeny blue colour. I'm trying to work out on which side of the main vine the leaves should go so that it looks right when it's curling around the back of the broom there. And I'm just moving all the way up the vine, and towards the top the leaves will be getting smaller and closer together because that's how they unfurl when plants grow, because they kind of grow out from the ends. And next over here we needed something to fill in this gap, and I decided to put a bunch of flowers there. So here I'm just working out where the stalks go, because if they go in one angle through the top of the tie there, like the ribbon. It has to come out at the opposite angle on the other side, if that makes sense. I don't know if that I'm overthinking it or not, but that's what I was doing there. And I'm putting some different types of flowers in the bunch, like a few like kind of long thin ones like delphiniums or something, and then something that's a bit more star shaped, and then some smaller ones, and you know, just a variety of shapes and lengths, and try to make it a little bit taller in the middle too. I'll speed the next bit up for you just so that you can see the basic shape I was going for there. And just finishing off with a few little extra fronds and kind of spilling over the sides a little bit too. And then move over to this space here, and we can't do without a pile of books, can we? I mean, I imagine a witchy house would be absolutely filled with books, like a proper library room and reading nooks and stuff like that too. And of course over the study, and depending what kind of witch they were. But yeah, so I thought I'd do a pile of kind of antique looking books, and then see which is the next space to work on. I can't remember what I put down there now. Oh yeah, we also had to have an open book, like a grimoire or something, or a book of shadows, something that looks like it has really intriguing information in there. And I have in my mind what that information is, but I just want to put a glimpse of it on the page. So I'll speed this up a little bit for you and then zoom in when we're towards the end so you can see it a bit more easily. Now, when you're drawing a book lying down, or anything lying down on a page, on a surface, where you're looking at it from an angle, you have to remember the perspective, so that the area of the item that's on the further side from you has to kind of be a little bit smaller. So it has to have angles that face towards each other in the distance. I'm sure you've seen perspective drawing before. But so I'm just trying to work that out and make sure it looks realistic. And here's a little zoomed in shot of what I'm drawing there. I imagine every single page in this book has got really fascinating information. I really want to read this book. And then we move over here to the other side, and I thought I'd put another leaf up here, which I did over a few times because I couldn't quite get the veins inside the leaf correct to go with the shape on the outside edges kind of thing. It looked a bit weird to me. It ended up okay in the end when I've painted it and everything, but it did look a bit strange for a while. But yeah, I looked at some reference photos and things and it seems fine now. It's weird, like, no matter how much practice you have, things still your brain doesn't always remember the shapes properly, so you have to go back to reference photos and things like that. And it's not cheating to do that. Even the great masters always did that. Like, they always used models, like life models, didn't they? And our version of that is reference photos, and we can get them from all over the world. We're so lucky to be able to do that. And up at the top of the page you can see I'm starting to add a few more bottles. So we've got a little collection of potion bottles up there. I think that's going to make a really cool sticker. So I will put it onto the computer and see if I can play about with the image and neaten it up and things like that. But first, in a short while, we're going to be painting this. So I didn't want them all to be the same shape, these bottles. I wanted there to be a little bit of variety there, in the shape of the bottles and the labels as well. And at this point I realised the perfect item we can put into this space, and it's something that neither witchy nor autumnal doodles can do without, and it's one of my favourite little beings in the world as well. So to balance out the shape of the toadstool, because I didn't want it just to be on its own, I've decided to put in a few little fern fronds as well. So if you're drawing or painting fern fronds, you kind of have to imagine that they unfurl from the middle outwards, so that when they unfurl, the curl at the top is kind of facing inwards, and then it unfurls outwards from there, if that makes any sense. You'll be able to see when I put the paint on a bit later, it may be a bit more obvious. So this last corner down here, I'm putting something that again cannot be left out. Can you tell what it is yet? I'll speed it up a little bit for you. Have you got it now? I think you've probably got it by now, haven't you? So I only recently started drawing cats. So what I'm doing here is imagining the skeleton underneath and the shape of the head, and then the neck bones coming down, and then the muscles going over the skeleton as well, and the placing of the legs, so the thighs first. So I'm putting those in place first in the position that they'd be as they're walking. Again, if you're not sure, a reference photo is absolutely invaluable. I did a few pages of like cats in different positions, and sort of the shapes and different perspectives and things. Like this is quite a basic shape, just like side on, but it's really good to practice in all kinds of different actions if you can. I do the same with hands sometimes. I haven't done it for ages, but hands are really difficult to draw. They're actually a really weird shape, and feet as well. So if you want to improve your drawing skills, it's really good to just practice so many different positions, and the weirder the better really, because then you get to see how the muscles and ligaments work and all that. So yeah, it's really interesting to draw cats like this, and the Sphinx cats as well, because you can see the shapes of them without the fur on, which kind of blinds you to the actual shapes underneath sometimes. Now I feel I still need quite a bit of practice. See, I've got a bit stuck on this back leg and the position it should be in. I can't quite get my head around which direction it's going from the hip down the thigh, and that bit that sticks out on the back of the back leg is actually the heel in humans, which is a really interesting thing to keep in mind when you're thinking about four-legged animals. A lot of people think that their knees bend backwards, but their knees are actually much higher up and closer to the body, and that backward bending bit is the heel, and they walk on their toes. So they're just the same as us really, just some parts of their legs are elongated and shortened in a different way than ours are. I don't know, I just find that really fascinating. And then the tail is an extension of the backbone. So you think of the vertebra going down the back of the neck and along the back, and then straight out into the tail. So speeding up again, I'll finish this bit off and then just kind of solidify the outside edges a bit more. And we need some more work on the head there too, don't we? I'm so glad I started drawing cats, because it was just sort of an idea for the Witch Retreats calendar this year, because last year's calendar was just the houses, like the forest cabins and little stone cottages and things like that, but they didn't have any animals in them. So I was really happy to do this time, and it really brought a new dimension to the calendar. Okay, on to the exciting bit. We're going to put some colour on it. So these poster paints dry between uses, so I always use a little spray bottle with just plain water in to spray over them, and then leave that for a little while to settle in so that they can soften. So mixing bluey green just off screen there, and more of an ultramarine blue as well. There we go. So this is a bluey green I already had in the palette before. I rinsed most of the palette off, washed most of it, but I really hate wasting paint, so I left some of that on, and then I thought it would make a really nice background actually. So there's quite a bit there from a previous project. So I started off there with quite a damp background. It's very watery. So that's the bluey green there, and then I add the ultramarine blue, so it just blends in a little bit. So 2 different blues in the background, and I go around all these tiny details. I could have just done a completely blue wash on the background and built it up, but I like leaving white space because it just ends up brighter, and in my opinion just seems so much more luminous. Now another way to do this could be to put the pencil drawing on and then put masking fluid on top, and then do a blue wash completely over the top, and then like rub the masking fluid off. But I always find that the masking fluid takes the pencil off too. I suppose I could do an extra step there, which could be do the pencil and then seal it with like a varnish type thing, and then do the masking fluid on top. But if I do that, the paint on top doesn't take quite as well. So for the moment I'm doing this. I might experiment with other possibilities in the future, but for now I'll just go around all the tiny details, which is quite therapeutic actually, and quite meditational. And skip to the end, and then I'm going to put some more layering on in places. So what you do is you dampen the background again where you want to paint over, just so that it doesn't have really hard edges when you put more paint on the second layer. And there is another way of doing this actually, where you can completely dampen the background, and then if you paint on the damp background, the paint spreads in a really smooth way, so you don't get any hard edges at all if you keep it nice and damp throughout. So here I'm using the Kuretake dark red number 38. I thought that was going to be clearer on the camera, but it's just gone fuzzy and focused on the background instead. But never mind. So that's number 38, and I'm putting that on the palette, and I'm going to mix it with that kind of terracotta brown towards the bottom, which is number 46. So I'm mixing the red and the terracotta together because I didn't want any kind of bright or obvious colours. I wanted to kind of neutralise the red a little bit more, because I've got a colour palette in mind and I want this colour to be kind of aged, because these books in the library do not want fresh, clean, bright colours on them. It has to look like leather that's been read and used and handled. And for the background here, I've made sure it's really properly bone dry before I started these paintings over the top, the details and stuff, because I didn't want any of that running together. I want the background colours to all kind of run together and be all smooshed up, but not any of these detailed ones. This colour is actually looking like an aged kind of purple against the background here. I'm really liking that combination, and because I've got a certain palette to work with, I'm going to use this specific colour in other areas on the page as well. So there's a few of the flowers there that I've picked out, and one of the potion bottles as well. I didn't want the main one to be purple because I didn't want that to be too much of a dominant colour. At this point I'm not even sure what I want the dominant colour to be, if any, but we will find out in a little while. And somehow, sorry about this, I was absolutely sure I had recorded every step of this process, but I seem to have completely missed that kind of rusty orange colour. But I did do that leaf frond at the top, and as you can see, the vine behind the broomstick, I've decided that should be more autumnal looking, so I've put that twisting behind there, and also the other leaf at the moment. And now these background shapes, just like circles and stars and things like that, I'm putting initially just a yellow wash over them, just because I didn't want them blank at the moment. I wanted to see what I was working with for the other colours, really. I just wanted to sort of balance it out, so I knew where I was in the painting process. It just felt a bit better to do that. And in this next stage, I have just covered some areas with a creamy ivory, sort of aged ivory kind of colour, and that's the labels on the potion bottles and the background to the toadstool, and the book pages down at the bottom. I haven't done those other book pages in the pile yet, but I will get onto those. Oh, and I think I did the broomstick too. So I'm doing some details on the mushroom at the moment, which we'll zoom in on. Sorry, it's not quite as sharp as it could be, but I think you get the gist of what I'm doing there. I did, with the pencil, already do the details, like the outlines of the little white spots on the toadstool. So I'm just going around all those with this lovely red, which I have knocked back a little bit. It's not a bright red. I didn't want a bright modern overpowering red. I wanted it a little bit darker, so it's like kind of a brownish red. And I just really enjoyed doing all these tiny details. But yeah, it did take ages. I think this whole painting took 5 hours. I was trying to time it when I was filming it, and with a little timer thing, but I always forget to press the buttons on those things, so I'm really terrible at timekeeping when it comes to my paintings. I really need to get better at that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the details on this one. So I've used this red, and I will also use that in other areas of the painting as well, like this book and the edges of this book down here as well, which I think that looks really cool with the open pages and the red cover. And a few of these little flowers. Completely forgot the word for flowers then. And I've actually put a little bit of a blue shadow on that toadstool, just to bring all the elements together, so it doesn't look completely detached from the background of the picture. So I'll probably put a few other bluish shadows in the other areas of the painting too. And now we've put those green fern fronds in there, we need to put some green in other areas of the painting. I really enjoyed balancing just that little area out. I can't wait to make that into a sticker. So I don't know if these stickers, I don't know what kind of size to make them, because something like that could go on the front of a notebook quite easily. I can't think of other things that stickers go on at all at the moment. But as I said before, the small versions, I'll make them the right size, like under 1 centimetre, so that they can go in calendars and journals and things like that. I think they'll be really cute to use on a small scale. So I'm just adding some tiny leaf details to the ferns here. I feel like I should make more little vignettes like this for stickers and various other items, and just like It looks really cool to have something like this as a small piece of artwork on the wall, or even a massive one. Imagine a massive one of these on your wall. That would look cool. I've always thought about maybe making wallpaper and things like that, but it takes so much extra effort and research. I just haven't got around to it yet. So as you can see at this point, I have painted one of the books in the pile green in the stack of books. So there's a little bit of green distributed around the painting. Oh, and yeah, and the excuse me, the bunch of flowers as well. And I've decided for the main potion bottle at the front, I'm going to go with a brown for that. Just made of brown glass. So I thought that would look quite cool and quite authentic. And after putting that last bit of shading on there, I'm really happy with the way it looks. It's just the look I was going for. You never know when you start these projects if they're going to work out properly or not. Like, pretty much any artist you can name goes through so many mistakes, or what they would call mistakes. Maybe other people wouldn't, but it has to be right from your own vision, doesn't it? So the same brown I've used on the bottle there, I'm bringing that down onto the broomstick. So I will use that as the darker shaded side of the broomstick, and the twigs, like the sweeping twigs, on the actual brush itself. And also down here in the shadow, in the crease between the pages in the centre of the book. And then I put some water on that to kind of soften the edges a little bit. So it looks like the shadow's coming out gradually rather than like a folded sharp edge. And then some more of the brown on the pages underneath where the shadows fall on the different pages. And then this is a bit I always find really exciting, putting the tiny writing on. I might actually do that properly sometime and make miniatures with real tiny writing on that you can actually read. But I'd have to really be very steady with that. So now I'm mixing a dark blue and a dark brown. I don't want it completely black, but it is for the black cat colour. But actually using black can be way too harsh when you're painting, so you have to be really sparing with it. And I normally will mix a black from other colours that appears black on a painting, but is actually quite a lot softer finish. And here I realised these yellow kind of blobs of light and stuff need some luminescence to them. So I've pulled the same yellow together, mixed the same yellow, and I'm just circling around them so it looks like they're little like magical orbs of light or something. I might do something else with them at this point, but I'm not really sure. I don't think they're going to be stickers, but they might just be something else on a sticker sheet. But I just wanted those spaces to be filled, really. I didn't want massive voids between them. And I did eventually decide to use a really fine pen around the outside of these drawings because they needed to just stand out a little bit more from the background, I thought. And I really like sometimes the texture and definition that a pen can give. Sometimes I'll use dark brown because it's a bit softer, but I thought black would work best here. So I'm outlining pretty much every detail here and adding a few extras as well. Extra details and patterns and words and things like that. And that's about it for this video. Hope you have a wonderful magical day or night. Bye!